Okay, welcome, Grandmaster Jew. Good morning. I know it's early there in
Good
California.
morning, sir.
Good
Uh,
morning, sirs.
Good to see you too, Master Fruitstone.
Always good to see you, Master Young.
Um, and it's been a while since we've done an interview. We took a little break. So we had done, I think, about 10 interviews with grandmasters around the United States. And mostly they were focused at people that were in our organization, although we did talk to Grandmaster Vitali. That was I think that was one of our last ones.
Yeah,
Uh,
Grandmaster Weiss as well.
Grandmaster Weiss
Mhm.
as well. That was 6 months. Well, how long ago was Grandmaster Weiss? That was at least 9 months or something like
Yeah, maybe a year.
maybe a year. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. If Grandmaster Bosse pops in, then he can just pop in whenever he can, and we'll bow into him and get him engaged too. Um, Typically, what we do is we start off with a little bit of history to try to find out why and who and when you started doing Taekwondo or martial arts in general. And that's always the lead off question. And then Master Fruitstone and I kind of go back and forth. We each try to prepare about three questions. We did say that we wanted to talk to you about a little bit about your collaboration with Grandmaster Bosse in the tournament that you recently had this summer. And that's kind of the way it goes. So does
All
that all
right.
sound okay to you?
Yeah, it sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. So Master Fruitstone, you
Awesome.
got the first question about the.
I do. Thank you, Master Young and Grandmaster Jew. Sir, when did you start training in Taekwondo specifically? And if you can tell us about what your training was like early and how it's evolved as far as your journey has gone.
Started in 1979. How does it look? I was like 18 years old. I was in college, and how I found Taekwondo, because prior to that, I was probably back in the 70s. You guys would have been what? Under 10 years old, I guess. But back in the 70s, Bruce Lee, Kung Fu was kind of a big thing. And I was really involved. I really liked it. My dad actually did Kung Fu when he was younger. So, and that whole martial art idea is probably a little bit new at the time, especially like Asian martial art in America, probably not as big as it is today. And so, I think I remember seeing a karate studio down the street or something, but not really, not as popular as it is today. And so he kind of taught me what he kind of knew when he was in China. So, but that wasn't too extensive. Unfortunately, about that time, I guess around 1973, where Bruce Lee, obviously, he made Enter the Dragon and he passed away. And I was like, wow, I want to do that. And then
Yes.
I had a major accident. I broke my leg and couldn't do any physical activity. I mean, it was that bad. And obviously, today we have technology that could probably get you back up and running. But basically, for 2 years, I couldn't do anything. So, not until I was 16. But by that time, I was already in high school. There wasn't a lot of martial art around. When I went to college, I went to UC Santa Barbara. And well, actually, I should just backtrack a little bit just to give you a little history about that. I actually was doing a student exchange program in Taiwan, and there was a kung fu class, and so I was doing that with them. And there was this guy, last name was Mr. Yang. I don't remember his first name. He really, he was in the WT, but he was just cleaning house on everyone. It's like, oh my gosh, look at those kicks! It's like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I think I'm gonna do taekwondo when I get back
Yeah.
to the United States. And so I came back to the United States and I opened the phone book. Yeah, you guys remember phone books. I don't know about some of the guys else, but
We are there with you.
We,
We're not that far. We are before cell phones. So both of
absolutely.
us are old enough.
yeah. So I just flipped through the phone book. I looked up Taekwondo. There was like two. And I just happened to, I'll go check this guy out. And it happened to be Grandmaster Sabri Soleil. I don't know anything about ITF, WT. It's just I just wanted to visit. It was like maybe a 500 square foot dojo, just carpet on the on the cement floor. It was, it's like, wow, okay. But I liked what he was doing and not realizing what Taekwondo. I think even today, I think people don't really know, oh, what's the difference between karate or Taekwondo or jujitsu, or they just think it's martial art. If you're not, if you haven't done your research. Yeah, I was fortunate to do that because I don't think about maybe 2 years later, I think in the 80s, General Choi came to America to do his 15-volume encyclopedia. And he actually went to Santa Barbara to do all the photographs because Grandmaster Sabri Saleh was the photographer, many of the pictures in the encyclopedia. I got to meet him there. That's the first time I got to meet him. I also met a lot of other master battles. Just like, I'm only maybe a blue belt. I was like, oh, yes, sir. How are you, sir? It's like
Sure.
not realizing who they are, just, because you just train. And so that was kind of cool. Because I was in college, I would go home for the summer. And so he came during the summertime. And so I got to see a little bit. And, but then I went home because I didn't realize how important that was. Got to take a couple photos with him. That was kind of cool at that time. Yeah, that was how I started Taekwondo.
What was the training environment like? Because training has changed over the years. So what was training like for you? I always tell people that we can never do what we had done to us. We could never do
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the world today.
Well,
So,
yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like today, you've got, like for instance, sparring gear. That's well, it's not new today, but back then, I remember Grandmaster Sabri said, "Oh, you need to wear these." I was like, "What is it, sir?" It's like sparring gear. They were Junri sparring gear, and he only just bought extra large and said, here we're going to fit this. And I was like, okay. So I had these sparring boots that were probably way too long, and but okay. But yeah, we used to just spar without sparring gear, so that's something that's different. What we were doing back then, probably we can't really do it today. I mean, you can. It just depends on liability and stuff like that. I mean, back then we were on cement floor and a piece of carpet. When you sweat, that thing just soaked up all that sweat and
yes, sir.
wasn't smelling too good. Today you have mats. Probably most dojons have mats, I'm guessing, and so
Yeah.
that's different as well. He kind of trained more like with a stick, sitting stance, and you just sit there for sitting stance, and you moved, he kind of like smacked you a little bit.
Yeah.
I do remember some stuff like that, but you can't do that today. Well, you could do it, but depends on your clientele
Sure.
if they're gonna. And he was very flexible. I remember, he would come and help you do the splits, and it was not, wasn't wasn't no pain, no gain, you might say,
Oh yeah.
but sure. But yeah, so those are some of the differences, I think, a little bit more hardcore. I shouldn't say hardcore. We got some really good guys today. So, and I
Uh,
think that in many ways, we today we have some people that are doing some amazing stuff, and I kind of think like my own son. He's very, very good, and definitely, I think he's definitely better than I was at my peak. But he also started when he was 5 years old, so maybe a little bit different in that way.
Thank you, sir. That's
Outstanding.
that's great.
Well, I wanted to jump into this issue that was brought to mind about you and Grandmaster Basse having a tournament, kind of working together, and we'll call it a collaboration. I'm a former member of the USTF. Um,
So am
Master
I.
Fruitstone is a former member of the USTF. You're a former member of the USTF. At one point, when I joined the USTF, I came in as a third dan, and I had finally was convinced by I was doing the Korean karate for my first two black belts, and I was convinced by Grandmaster Walt Lang to join the USTF, and he was like, you can't do what you're doing. You got to get in on the program, and you can't follow two masters. You got to join the crew here. Join the crew, and and so that convinced me. And so I tested the third down in the USTF, and I really appreciated the competition that the USTF held, and I was able to go and do sparring and patterns and all that, and breaking, and then shortly thereafter, I mean, within a couple of years, Grandmaster Lang left the USTF and took many people, including Mr. Blakely, who I trained with a lot in New Mexico. And so there was a fracture, and it seems that over the course of the history of the ITF, there has been that is probably the constant. The thing that's been constant is that there's been fracturing, not that there's been a kind of, coming back together, especially not organizationally. And so we're looking, Master Fruitstone and I are thinking, well, hey, we want to see this art continue. We gained a lot from it. We want other people to be able to have that experience. And you need numbers. You need the family to be larger. And so there's been some efforts to expand into different organizations, training with different organizations like Waco, for example. Some people have been trained to get some more competition in kickboxing. They have a kick light, which is similar to our sparring.
Like contact.
Like contact, I'm sorry, not to get confused. There's like five, right?
Six,
including K1. They go all the way up to K1 and all the way down to this light contact. So there's been some effort to share with other groups and go to other events and try to expand the people, the number of people, and make for a better experience for our students. So I'm curious as to why you felt what instigated this desire to have a tournament to collaborate with Grandmaster Bossé. I'm sure you were friends from USTF days, but feel free to tell us about that story.
Okay, sure. I just out of curiosity, Master Fruitstone, were you always were you have a similar story to Master Young, and that is that you trained somewhere else before you did ITF?
Well, so my original instructor was Grandmaster Mel Steiner. I don't know if you know him.
Oh yeah.
So he
Florida.
was my yeah, exactly. Yes, he was my instructor, and originally he was under Sosei Cho, who was I believe in charge of Turkey at one point. And when he came to Miami, it was he was independent, but it was ITF Taekwondo. And then he joined the USTF when I was around blue belt. And so from blue on, I was a member of the USTF until he left the USTF around 99, 2000. And then with the general's death and the fracturing beginning, he kind of found his own way, and I came back to where I started in the ITF. So that was kind of my organizational path.
Great. Yeah, no, that's cool. It's interesting to hear different stories. I always just kind of think ITF is ITF, right?
Well, because that's really what Master Young and I are so passionate about. Is ITF is like we are a family,
sure,
with many relatives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's interesting for me because Grandmaster Sabri was, he trained with General Choi, and obviously, so there was a lineage there. And he was only in America for a few years, but all of my certificates have been with General Choi up to 6th degree. And then obviously I'm with President Choi Jung-hwa. And so all of my certificates are with the Che family, you could say that. And I was just curious, is that normal or unnormal? It said, I kind of think of you guys as friends. Well, I don't really recall Master Fruitstone. We probably have met. I don't know.
Yeah, we did many years ago, sir.
many years ago, probably at a camp or something.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not sure. I do remember Grandmaster Steiner, Master Lang, and Master Blakely. I remember Master Young. You and I have always been chatting over the years. I think I sent a student to your dojo many years ago. And I think we've been chatting, Grandmaster Nunez, so it's not like I think of you guys as just brothers, friends. We just have our own different path, I guess. But in California, I think, and maybe this is true for a lot of people, when Grandmaster Sabri left California, he left the state or his dojo to Grandmaster Wheatley. He was kind of running. I was like, oh, and I've only just barely met him. He was like, he tested for fourth degree when I was testing for my first degree. He kind of, and it's like, oh, you're taking, okay, no problem. But he was in Santa Barbara area, and I was up in the San Francisco area, and so we started doing like some seminars, just him and me, just doing seminars and little tournaments. So I bring some students down there, and he'd kind of come up and do a little seminar and tournament up in the San Francisco area. We kind of built California. Well, he was a regional director for the USTF, and I was the state director for California until I think Grandmaster Wheatley got promoted or something. I ended up being the regional director for the West Coast, and I forget what year that was. And obviously, the USTF was big proponent of the ITF until the general passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So, when he passes away, you have a choice, because I do remember it's one of the hardest days in Taekwondo in my life. Grandmaster Seraph, I considered him as my grandfather of Taekwondo because he's been at all of my testing, first through sixth degree. And so I did, I really admire him, learned a lot from him. So anyway, when he passed away, because the USTF decided to no longer be part of the ITF, but I was also, felt like I had this connection of the ITF, and that's where it started. That's if it wasn't for General Choi, and I wanted to be able to continue that relationship with people around the world, if you could say that, So, not to say that the USTF wouldn't, but it became more of a national organization. And I know that they've also were trying to do stuff like New Zealand and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And they did a great job. I don't think that they did a really good job, but you have to make decisions because obviously at that time, Grandmaster Wheatley he decided to also continue with President Choi Jong-il, the son of the founder. You guys know that, but in case somebody doesn't know. But it just felt right to do that. And I think a lot of people did that. I think that a lot of people had followed President Choi in that earlier time. So that's kind of why we're with President Choi. And so to get back to your question, sir, I've always kind of done kind of open tournaments. So it's not like we did do some. I did remember hosting like, it could have been the national I remember a lot of people coming in. It's been so long ago. In Pleasanton. I don't know if you were there.
There was a USDF Nationals many, many, many years ago.
Right. So I think I hosted that actually. Anyway, it's just one of those events but going to different tournaments. I remember going to open tournaments like karate tournaments and, just to get experience, and I had friends that did other martial arts. So from high school, I had friends that did karate. I had some friends that did judo, different martial arts. And so it's just interesting to listen to people and trying to learn something. Obviously, hey, Taekwondo is what I like doing. And so I'll do what I do and, share ideas. But I've also been, I've always considered Grandmaster Bosse as a friend and, just friends. We didn't really even work out that much. I didn't even go down to Las Vegas hardly. But he actually lived in California for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and he was at my studio, and then he was doing some of my kickbox. He led some of that, and I remember the students liked him. But yeah, so we've always been in communication, just like many other people. It's not like on a day-to-day basis, but hey, how's it going, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Master Young. You and I have chatted over the years, and hey, how's it going? Just
Yeah.
maybe nothing too earth-shattering. Just hello. He was just talking because he was thinking about opening a studio in Las Vegas, and I said, "Oh, that's cool." And I said, "How about I'd like to help you out because I'd like to see anyone be successful in Taekwondo. I've already been in my dojo for, let's see, I think in Pleasanton, we were 35 years now. I think it is 35 years as a full-time dojo. Obviously, when I moved from Santa Barbara to Santa Rosa, I had a little club, but they were just like Parks and Recs, YMCA. And when I became a fourth degree, that's when I decided to open my dojo, my commercial dojo. I don't like to call it commercial, my dojo. When I first started, I was working, so I had a full-time job, and then running a full-time dojo that was, mm, get off work, 4 o'clock, go to the dojo, go until about 9, 10 o'clock, and then you have to go and do like administrative work. And so I did that for 9 years until I got laid off and says, okay, well, maybe I'll just work on this until I find another job. I ended up just going, I don't have enough time to go look for another job. And so that's how my dojo it is where it is today. So I'm very, very lucky. And I would definitely say, if it wasn't for Taekwondo, if it wasn't for General Choi, President Choi, and all the people that supports Taekwondo, I'm very blessed for that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, did that answer your question? I'm not sure if it did. So anyway, regarding to that tournament, it was fun, and just thought, hey, I maybe help him out a little bit because he's in his school. He didn't have a lot of people. He didn't, just whatever. And then, how do you get people to come to it? We had I don't know, maybe 100 something. I don't know what it was. It's probably 100, just a little over 100. Not super big. It actually kind of reminds me of when I had tournaments in California. We didn't have a large presence. Because it was fairly new back in the 80s, and I remember having some karate guys come, so we opened it up. So if you just limit it to a specific group, it's going to be a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
You can't run an event with a small number of people. I mean, you can. I mean, I do in-house tournaments now. I don't do like some of these major types of tournaments, just because you need a lot more people. You've got to rent that space, you've got insurance, you've got all these other expenses that come along with it. I said I don't think I want to do a national tournament because there's too much cost involved, unless you want to go out of business or want to lose a lot of money. And that has nothing to do with an organization. That's just the nature of business. Because running a tournament is just a business. It's really what it is in a way. Now, I don't want to make it sound like it's just business, but there's that business component that keeps the machine running. I mean, just like a dojo, Master Fruitstone, that's what you do is Taekwondo?
Yes, sir. I have a fitness company and I teach Taekwondo. That's what I do.
Right. And so you understand that.
Yes, sir.
And, I remember in the old days where, oh no, there's this saying that do Taekwondo because you love Taekwondo, not for money. I totally agree with that. I don't disagree with that. Because if you don't love what you're doing, it's not going to be easy. Your business isn't going to work anyway. And so I do it because I love Taekwondo. It just happens that I think that a dojo where you're renting space and you can reach more people. I've reached a lot of people just because of that. and compared to doing it out of YMCA or and I tell these to black belts who are thinking about running a school is that, for me, if I had a choice to go back in time, would I do what I'm doing today? I would definitely recommend uh, opening a commercial dojang, if you want to say that. And just, it's not easy because it's a small business, and most of us Taekwondo people are not business people, right? And so, and there's a lot of arguments. Can you teach Taekwondo and still have integrity? I kind of feel like I do, you know, but that's all in in the eyes of the beholder, right? You could say, because it's interesting because I have friends that are in WT, and when I listen to them and they go, "Oh, oh, those guys are just they don't do taekwondo." But then I listen to and I talk to them, and they have the spirit, really. They want to help students. They want to help them to be better. Um, and it just, for me, it just like, hey, yeah, I get it. Maybe a little bit different art, but when they have the passion to try to help students, I think that's the nuts and bolts of it. I mean, so maybe my perception is a little bit different. Do I think collaboration is, yeah, I think it's good in that way. You have to understand who you are and what you believe in. And you want to talk about loyalty, you can ask me about that. And to go back to where I said, oh, when General Choi died, and I said, Grandmaster Seraph, it was a difficult time because I had to tell either ITF or Grandmaster Seraph, President Che or Grandmaster Seraph, what am I going to do? Can you be with two organizations? Well, it kind of depends on where you want to go and depends on what organizations want, I guess. But I think that was a very sad day when I told them that I'm going to continue with the ITF, just because I considered him as my grandfather Taekwondo. Difficult time at the time. So when we talk about testing loyalties, and you hope you never have to do that, but I know where my loyalties are, but sometimes they get tested. And so I share that with my students. It probably will happen at some point in your life, regardless of Taekwondo or personal life. You're going to get tested, and you'll have to make the decision that you think is best for you. And for me at the time, it was just like, what do I want? And I really just want my students to be able to continue to be able to do the things that maybe I couldn't have done. I started in '93. General Che died in 2000.
2002.
2.
No, May of 2002.
So you guys are better historians than I am.
Well, I remember going to
Colorado.
I was on the U.S. team for the USTF in 2001 in Rimini, and of course General Che was there, and Master Che, Che Jong-hwa was there. And the Congress voted him in. There's a
Right,
conference every World Championship. They
right.
voted him to be, in 2 years, instead of a 4-year term for General Che, they were going to give him 2 and then let a transition happen and let Master Che take over as the president of the ITF. And I think universally people, because it was a fairly unified ITF group at that point, people were happy with that outcome. Um, and then of course General Che passed away after. Then there was a huge kerfuffle between him and his son, and then he passed away. So it was a lot of events that I remember. Like for me, they were like very personal.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
Congress
I was
was
not there. I've met President Che and I speak to him from time to time. Obviously, um, he's a very amazing person. I find him to be very interesting. He's very knowledgeable. Yeah, I find him very personal and just I like him a lot.
I
So,
have to share a story. Uh, we were invited down by Master Howard to an IIC,
Right.
And Parm Rai was kind of the right-hand man guy running the IIC, and President Che Jong-hwa was there, along with Master Tompkins, Grandmaster Tompkins, who was Master Howard's instructor. But I, for some reason, found myself in this zone, in this place where I was talking to uh, President Che Jong-hwa. I don't know what is it. What is it that do you call him Grandmaster now, or President Che, or what's the proper? What does he prefer?
I always call him President Che.
Hmm.
Don't call him. And it's interesting because I remember sitting down talking to him about this terminology, Grandmaster. And we have quite a few nowadays, but in the old days, it was only one, obviously. And so he was kind of explaining the terminology of, Sabunim, Musabunim, Sayan, Sasanim, right? And so he was saying that Sasanim, or for Ninth Dawn's Grandmaster, he says that it's more like a saint, like St. Mary's, or someone that is very saintly. And he says he doesn't see himself like that. It's like, and I was thinking about that. I said, yeah, I get that. I mean, I think that's a very special rank. I don't. Well, people say that to me. I'm only newly been promoted to ninth degree, and I'm very blessed and say thank you very much, sir. But I don't do Taekwondo for a rank. I just do Taekwondo. If it happens to come, it comes. I can tell you sometimes that might not have been promoted. So just issues as you kind of go through these things. But so when he explained that, I says, oh, that makes a lot of sense, sir. And so I just call him President Che. And if you look at the Korean society, they're mostly addressed by their title. Yeah, he has a title of ninth degree. He has the title of Grand Master, but he's the president of the ITF. And so when you look from I think the Korean society, if you're a chairman of a company, right, you call him CEO or chairman so-and-so. And so that's how I speak to him as President Che. I think a lot of people do, but well, I think
I appreciate that, because I want to make sure to be respectful, obviously. But the point of that little story was that when I was sitting across the table from him, he's completely disarming person. He is completely personable. He is, and I met his father as well, and his father was not quite like that. So he is. I concur. He made me feel like my perspective was important. I mean, I was like, at the time, I don't remember what I was, fifth degree or something. But it was just him and I, and he really made an impression on me, and in multiple occasions too, because I've gone to a couple seminars, and then Grandmaster Nunez, whom I chose to follow, also was a member of Che Jong-hwa's organization, President Che's organization, for a couple of years there, and they went to the World Championships in South Korea. So I kind of have I have an international instructor's certificate from President Che's organization of the ITF, and then I had to get another one when we switched over, but I was following my instructor, for loyalty reasons, and others, of course. But anyway, that's great that that you found a home here, and Master Howard says the same thing to me. It's like, this is the bloodline of the Che family, that General Che was Taekwondo. This is why we're doing this. It's helpful to reinforce that, and makes you feel like you're part of that family for sure.
Right, right.
Master Fruitstone, did you have another question? I got maybe one more, and you've got one more, and we can.
Yes, sir. I've got two more actually, but
Two more.
they are related to some of the things that you were alluding to. So we'll kind of build on that. Sir, how has the fracturing of the ITF, because it continues to fracture almost daily at this point, into another organization, ITF like organizations. How has that fracturing affected you and your club, or maybe it hasn't? as well as your relationships with some of these other instructors that maybe you came up with? And the reason why I asked that question is because within our world, there are certain groups that don't let you play with people that you've known for 20, 30 years, right? You know, they frown upon these interactions for whatever reason, Master Young and I are extremely open. We love, if we've known you for 20 years, we've known you for 20 years or 30 or 40. You're your family. But organizationally, it can be a little hairy. So how has that affected you, or has it? What insights can you provide?
I would tell you that, has it affected the way I run things? For sure. You know, when we were with the USTF, I think there was a bigger support just because you have all the schools and they go, oh, we're going to go to this tournament, or we're going to go to this seminar. And, we held, I remember Grandmaster Wheatley held an IIC with General Choi down in Santa Barbara. You might have been there. A lot of people from around the country would go there. As you had mentioned, I kind of forgot what I did at Nationals in Pleasanton. And so I do have a big photo of the event. That's like, what was this event again? and we had a lot of that. And then I think when you had that split, then obviously people aren't doing those things as much anymore. Yeah, kind of one of the reasons why I didn't want to do larger tournaments anymore, just because it's hard to get people to come. And so I just kind of do what I'm doing, just teaching Taekwondo and talking to people, friends like yourself. And is that a problem? Well, I guess it could be a problem for people. I think the leaders have to know where their students' loyalties are. I mean, is it breaking loyalty because I spoke to someone? Well, they were friends, sure. I guess, I'm not sure. I would just say that, my loyalty is with President Choi. He knows that. I don't think he has to second guess that. If I did something wrong, then I would think he would tell me, and it's like, yes, sir, I made a mistake. And that happens because you're not really sure what is right, what's wrong, or not necessarily, because we all have different ideas about that. And that kind of reminds me of something I talk about in my classes. I like this quote that President Choi likes to use, and that is, it goes something like, the ideal person is a person that can live without laws. The ideal person is a person that can live without laws. What does that mean? Well, he knows whatever's right, but everyone's idea of what's right kind of depends. And I use this example with my students. It's like, if you go to a four-way intersection and there's no stop sign, what do? You just go right through it, right? Just drive through it, make a right turn, make a left. No car there. You just do what's right, or what you think, until an accident happens, right? Then what happens? You get these stop signs that go up to tell you that this is the rule, and you got to stop, and you can't make a right. You can't just blast through that intersection. And so you make these rules because something happened. But what I think is right might not be the same as what someone else's think is right. My right might not be the same as your right. And so we all have kind of a little bit different opinions on that. And so getting back to this idea of, can I talk to someone? Is that right or wrong? I guess it's wrong if you have insecurities about who your instructor or who your student is. And I don't worry about that too much. I just kind of think that that my students would be loyal to me because they feel connected with me. But things happen, it's like, as long as you don't betray a trust, I think that's kind of important, because that's where you'll have issues. And does that mean that I wouldn't accept them as a friend or at least know who they are. No, I'm not kind of that kind of. I'm not really that way. It's just you're just doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. I think that's kind of what it is. Is that right or
Right.
wrong? I don't know. It's
Right. So you're comfortable interacting. There hasn't been, in your experience, any blowback from an organizational standpoint for your connections to other individuals.
within our group. With President Che, I mean, he's always been very open. I kind of feel like he's always been open, but maybe it's because I'm kind of out in America. I mean, I do interact like with Master Howard, Master Crochet, because they were with President Che, Grandmaster Wheatley. So, but we're kind of also independent, and there are some things that you can't do, you shouldn't do, probably. Just like in a company, just like if I worked for Apple, would it be okay to bring a Samsung phone to the company? I mean, I guess you could, but I kind of think that that would kind of like saying, "Hey, I like this product, but I work for you. Is that okay? Maybe it's okay, but maybe not." From a perception, I probably would say it's not okay. So if you wanted me to come and do a test for you, maybe that wouldn't be okay unless you want to be part of our group. Would it be okay to, well, you guys wouldn't invite me to your your world championship because I'm not certified for your group, right?
Well,
So
Master Young and I would invite you, but the organization might have something else to say.
and that's okay because there are certain rules and there are certain, I mean, maybe the way they judge or anything like that would be slightly different. So what is right? My right is not necessarily your right. So that's kind of what. So would I do that? No, I probably wouldn't do that. Wouldn't be respectful anyway, I think, in that way. So yeah, I guess there's some gray area, I guess. I don't know. Just one of those things. I kind of forgot what was the
It's
point
okay.
I was getting
It's a good
to.
conversation piece. But we do, I think it is, to me, I want to touch on it a little bit, a couple of things that you said. There's a lot. We could probably have a longer conversation. I'll try to focus this because there's a lot there that I wanted to talk about. I see a situation where, within our organization, Master Fruitstone and I, and ITF America, we've got a lot of people that were former USTF people that have come back into the fold in a way. And that's good. A lot of them had to put away things that they had created. For example, Grandmaster Suarez had created his own organization, and he subsumed that into ITF America. Grandmaster Afadagato had done the same. He had his own organization working in different parts of the United States, and then he subsumed that into ITF America. Master Cancelleri in Philadelphia as well. Essentially, there was some desire to unify and to give up things for something greater. Their perception, that was their perception of what was right. Because they had to give
Right.
up stuff, business stuff, financial things. We had discussions about, well, hey, the OTFA charges this much money for a seminar. Why would ITF America not charge that? Why, there was lots of detailed conversations there. And it was hard. It was not an easy thing to do. So organizational combinations are very difficult. Do you have an umbrella organization where everybody kind of gets to be independent and then they get a vote on national issues every once in a while and they just stay and do their own thing? There's ways to try to do it that way. One of the ways to try to do it is to say, okay, look, we have a set of rules for competition. And as long as you follow the rules for that competition, everyone can come to that event and we can share with each other and have good, hopefully have a positive experience. Another way is through seminar, where you say, okay, we're going to bring in multiple people from different schools of thought, whether that's jujitsu or other group of taekwondo or whatever. We're going to come together. We're going to give each person a platform to speak and train. And we all get on the mat and we sweat and we do taekwondo and we are the better for it. You know, we get to make friends. You know, so for me, I want to see a vision of more collaboration. When I hear you say loyalty, like someone is concerned about their loyalty, to me, it's like this a fear-based method of operation, which I'm not as much into right now. So I'm not so much in the worried about what my students might do or what my instructors do. I'm more thinking about what the vision could be for ITF Taekwondo, in particular in the United States. So I would love to hear if you have, I know that you said you're doing your thing, you're teaching Taekwondo, you found your home, you're happy, you know, but you also mentioned that, you know, it's kind of, hey, we can't have those big events anymore. We can't have, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to make my
That's
instructor feel like I'm
Yeah.
threatening them by talking to someone else.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I want to add to what Master Young is saying, and I know I've discussed this with Master Young. And one of the things that stands out to me is, like, in Italy, for example, there is an official document. I don't know if you're familiar with it, that has a collaborative agreement between President Che's group and our group, and they actually do collaborate officially and hold things like tournaments together. Because with the fracturing, the groups are smaller and everybody's fishing out of little tiny ponds instead of everybody working together in one big pond. So I know, Master Young, you know, this is relevant because there is a future to this somehow, you know, what we do.
Yeah, and it's not giving up your loyalty to your instructor or your loyalty to your organization, because those ones are so hard. So I would rather see if there's some other vision. Do you have any thoughts on that, sir? You are a leader. You're a leader. Whether you wanted to be or not.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, our conversation is not official. I'm not speaking on behalf of the ITF. I find it interesting, though, what you had spoken about, your issues with some of the instructors around the country. I find that interesting because I'm not aware of them too much. I mean, I've spoken to other instructors that are not with President Che, and they kind of express some of the issues that they've gone through, and I says, oh, okay, understand. And it always kind of, I don't see that in America for us. You know, we obviously, you guys know Master Crochet and Master Howard. They belong to the Phoenix group. I'm with Grandmaster Wheatley and with the US ITF, and we run our organization based on, you know, how we want to run it, but we also come together to do the World Championships. So we're able to work together in that way, which I think is awesome. Without, are there issues? Sure, there's going to be some. You're always going to have issues, regardless. Whoever, even within your own dojo, you're going to have issues, but you work through them. And so, as a whole, I would say we work together well, and we can go to a World Championship. I mean, I would say 50-50. So in America, as US ITF, and then the Phoenix group represents President Che. And so we have about 50-50 go to the World Championships, and we try to make it as fair as possible. And so I just find it interesting that you heard that. And I was like, I wonder, like, what is it that you're looking for? Because for me, an organization, when I just think about organization, what am I looking for? I'm looking for seminars, I'm looking for tournaments, and I'm looking for a certificate. What else am I looking for? For me, anyway, I'm not looking for Now, I wasn't looking for rank, and I'm not looking for power. Um, I've been appointed to certain things. I've never really wanted to. I mean, even when during the USTF, it's like years. It's like, we'd like you to be the state director. Okay, what does that mean? You just kind of do it, not because it's you're looking for it. And maybe there are people that want that. I don't know. So I kind of got distracted talking about myself. What was your main
Well,
question again, sir?
yeah, it wasn't really a question. I'm making statements. But it was a
Statements,
question.
okay.
Is there a vision for you that do you see a situation where the different organizations, US ITF, Phoenix Group, and organizations like ITF America, either locally or nationally, could share training together with no other obligation?
I think I'm just going to say that I think that like President Che is open to teaching and moving forward with Taekwondo with as far as like the way he grew up with, the way General Che did. And so when you have things that are kind of changing some of the fundamental things, I think that's an issue. And I kind of have an issue with that. I mean, if you want to go and change the encyclopedia, don't call it ITF Taekwondo, call it something else, call it whatever you want to call it. That's my opinion. If you want to change something, and we do change certain things. I mean, maybe I teach something that isn't the same as, and even within your own organization, it might be slightly different. I might say it's slightly different, but I think maybe fundamentally it's the same. And so when you're changing a name, now that's kind of controversial because with President Che, we changed the name Ju Che to Kodang. You guys know that, right?
Yes.
Sir.
And so the question is why? Because I remember asking, why did we change that? I remember going to watch, and I started hearing that. It says Kodang. That's Ju Che, isn't it? And so it's the same pattern. It's just the name was different. President Che said, "Yeah, well, we have a lot of the Koreans here from South Korea, and they don't like the name Ju Che." I was just, okay, I get it, because of political issues right there on that. And so we're starting to call it Kodang again. And I get that. But Kodang is a name that was used before. It's not new. I kind of think of it as Kodang 1.0 and Kodang 2.0, if you want to call it that. But so if you look at some of the, like a very earlier version of the encyclopedia, I think there's one that says Kodang, right? Well, you might know the original Kodang.
Yeah, we practice it.
So is that
but under
changing?
Grandmaster Nunez, we
both.
practice it. Yeah. He always makes us do Kodang.
Right.
The original.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, that's cool. But when you're starting to change like Tong Il, I mean, it's like, well, okay, but that's not General Che's work, really. I mean, the pattern is, I guess, but then the meaning isn't really what it was supposed to be, right? So I don't know. Just for me, I think that's not right. It's just, and who has the right for that? You can talk about legalities, and that's unfortunate because there's a lot of business. The original business owner, for some odd reason, they lost the rights to the name, right? The one I'm thinking about like is sriracha. You've heard of sriracha?
Mm-hmm.
That hot sauce. The original owner did not patent it or whatever, and he said, "Yeah, anyone can use the name, but it's not the same. There's lots of companies out there that use the name sriracha, but that's not the original sriracha. So who does have the rights to to call it ITF Taekwondo? I think it's that lineage. Yeah, you could say, well, from a legal standpoint, okay, maybe, just because they didn't file the patent or the name or whatever. But it's General Che's work, and you look at like what President Che's done. He's done an amazing job. I don't know about other organizations. I don't follow a lot of that stuff really, but we have quite a few schools in South Korea, and I think that was one of his main goal was to bring back Taekwondo to its birthplace, because really, where did it start? It started in South Korea, not North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he was born. That's where, so you want to, I kind of think like, oh, General Chase buried in North Korea. Well, he was born in North Korea. And it was before there was a North and South. That's kind of like his home. So does he have a political reason for that? Well, I don't know. But for me, I think it's kind of like, that's kind of like his home, not political, right? Not North and South. And South Korea is, we have quite a few schools in South Korea. I think President Che has wanted to do that. And we're kind of also getting involved with some of these. Have you heard of combat taekwondo?
Yes.
They recognize President Che as the president of the ITF. Yeah, so we have some competitors and that's full contact, kind of like K1, I guess. It's in a cage and stuff like that. So it's kind of we have some competitors that are doing that, and they're doing pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Well, the ITF Taekwondo was founded in a crucible of war and conflict. The final pattern, Tongil, that you mentioned, speaks about the unification of the Korean Peninsula and the Korean people. And so they've had struggle. I think struggle seems to be the norm. And
well, I mean, think about when you talk about changing the name of Tongil, then that's kind of, in some ways, that was General Che's idea, to unify, right? Unify North and South. That's kind of his goal. You change that name, and so are you saying that group doesn't want to unify? You're kind of changing that whole idea.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Sir. Yeah.
So I look at Taekwondo is that, yes, I'd like Taekwondo to continue ITF the way General Che developed and taught it. Are we going to have some differences? It is definitely different. The way we do patterns today is different than we did 20, 30 years ago. The ideas about how techniques are done might be different, right? Can you preserve it, or can you slightly improve it? Maybe. I don't know. But it's got to be instructors. We need black belts instructors to continue the art. Forget about the organization, but continue the art. If I died and my dojang dies, it dies in Pleasanton. There's no more. No one's exposed with it anymore, right? Basically, unless you have a bunch of black belts and instructors that are willing to get out there and do that and continue to teach that. So an organization, I said that, well, what am I looking for as an organization? I'm looking for seminars to keep my skills up, tournaments to make sure that I'm relatively competitive and as good as anybody else around the world or whatever country. And certification, because you could be just an independent. That's not a problem. As long as and I say that to my students, we're part of the ITF because you're recognized around the world. If I gave you a Juice Taekwondo certificate, you go to New York and they go, who's that guy? I don't know. There's some guy. Now, would they take him? Probably, but it doesn't. You don't really know what the standard is. And so that's kind of what I think as fundamental. What is it that I'm looking for as an organization? My vision is that, I want people to continue Taekwondo as the way General Che wanted it to be done.
I wanted to tell you that, first of all, I mean, I feel like I'm somewhat of a technician in terms of ITF Taekwondo. And when I have all kinds of people come into my club at the University of Texas. So all kinds of experience, independent groups, people that used to do ITF way back in the day and now they're doing something else, or karate or kickboxing or all the things. And occasionally I would get a student that would come in and they weren't wearing a uniform or insignia or anything, but I'd be able to watch them. Just you go through the first part of training and you see their turning kick, with their toes back and ball foot, and you see their position and their hand. And it was invariably, and in this case, in one particular, was one of your students. So recognizing quality, technique, it's in your students. And you have done a fantastic job of keeping the legacy of General Choi's art alive. Your students are emblematic of that. And whenever I see them on the floor, I know that we've got someone who understands the technical quality of this art, especially if they're a black belt, if they've reached that level. So I really appreciate our friendship, that we've continued to be able to maintain a relationship in terms of Taekwondo and across the country here. And I hope to see you again at Master Howard's tournament, if you can come down there in Houston, make the trip down. And hopefully we'll have continued relationship into the future, because you never know how things go. Never know, right?
That's true. Well, I mean, you go to Master Howard's tournament, and yeah, why not? Right?
Master Howard's a quality individual too. His are the other students that come to my club, and I'm like, okay, person knows what they've been taught correctly, right?
A couple of times.
Your son has been there maybe on occasion without you too. And he is a very high quality
good technician.
Absolutely.
Oh, thanks.
Very impressive.
Thanks.
Very impressive.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do you know what it would take for someone to come over back into President Che's organization? If they had a club, you can feel free to tell the people, because I can post that out there too. It's a good opportunity for people that really have like mind. So what are some of the things that someone would have to do? Let's say someone was in 8th Dan, and they've got 3 or 4 4th Dan instructors in their club, and they got like 50 people in their club, but they got a small club, and they want to join either the US ITF or the Phoenix Group, or what would be the process?
Then we'll start with sending a resume first, I guess.
Yeah, we want to know where they come from, what's their experience,
Right,
what's the reality of how they got
right.
that rank. Yep.
Yeah. It's not like we're trying to prevent people that just want to learn Taekwondo. I think as far as, I mean, I don't have a lot of people ask me that. I just refer that back to our administrative office. So I'm not, but if I can help in some way, I'll send in the information. So from me anyway, if you send me something, okay, I'll forward it on. I guess that's kind of like a job, I guess.
Right.
You're looking for a job at Apple or something.
Sure.
Is it easier to do it from a job posting, or is it easier if you did it through a person that you might know?
Sure.
So usually it's probably easier if you know someone in the organization. So it's not just me, right? It could be anybody, just within our organization. But I think you just got to look and see what you want. Where you want to go. And I was just saying, like my son, he says,
he's got to finish.
Well, yeah, what does he say? I always say, he says, be safe. I say, keep training.
Keep training.
Taekwondo.
Yeah. Well, I like keep training.
We have to make one up.
We have to come up with one, don't we? We have to come up a better catch line that finishes up our interviews. Yeah, we have to. We will. We will. We'll come up with something.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You bet, Taekwon.
Thank you so much, sir. Take care.